the Umbrella Corporation. Our business is life itself. This podcast episode is brought to you by nothing.
Try it for free.
That's how I feel. That's what's going to happen to me right now. We're on. It's
okay.
Like, I'm going to be like Chris Farley. Yeah,
nice.
So that one time when you talked about that on your show, that was really cool.
That's just like such an incisive interviewing technique, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's so lazy and it's so easy. Once in a while, I feel like that, though, doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a fanboy?
Yeah. Like how do you feel like being here in the small time with me?
The small time. No, this isn't. You're the big time. You have a lot of Twitter followers.
Yeah,
you're pretty big.
What does that mean, though?
I think that means a lot. That's pretty big. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I don't know how many of those are real. I think they're bots.
No.
Yeah.
No, that I don't think so.
No?
I think they're real.
So
yeah.
So you host people who are watching this, you probably already know, but you host a radio show. And I was asking you about what it feels like to be on the show, and you might have to hold back opinions or your own ideas about things. I just listened to your show this morning. And I can think of all different kinds of ways that I want to interject and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid's like, oh, that would drive me nuts, is doing that.
Yeah.
But you were something that we were just talking about before we started was that you were in the film Recount.
Yeah.
And I lived in Jacksonville. That was the year that I moved here.
The year they shot that film?
The year the
Recount.
About. Yeah.
Yeah, the year of 2000.
Yeah. And I was not politically aware yet because at that time I was way too busy trying to pay my rent.
Yeah.
And focused on very survival
hierarchy of needs.
Elements.
Yeah.
I went to go vote.
Yeah.
But that's like the limit of
Who'd you vote for?
I believe it was Al Gore that ran, right?
Bush Gore.
Yeah, I voted for Gore. And my father called me. And he's like, my father's Mexican man, he's calling me, mijo, you need to vote for Gore. It's like, always vote Democrat. He goes, because when a Republican gets into office, he goes, there's going to be a war.
Really?
That's what my father said.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he still living? Does he still feel that way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So, okay. Oh, I don't want to interview you.
No,
so
you can totally interview me.
Do you feel like that? Do you feel like in 2016 that's still like a sentiment?
I think that I don't know how factual it is, but I think that it leans towards being true. Like a war initiation, very military minded. Like the nation becomes very nationalistic. It seems like there's more of a nationalistic agenda, and xenophobia seems to spike. But I'm just doing all this from memory. Just quick.
So those are your memories of 2000, like when you moved to Jacksonville. Interesting.
No. I'm telling you, I was just focused on
paying the rent,
on doing that kind of thing.
Sure.
Because I had just moved here and I didn't have any friends, and I was like,
right.
I was focused on that kind of thing.
Well, I moved in the summer of 2000. I moved to Florida from Chicago. And I'd been in Chicago for 5 years at this company called CLTV News, which was a subsidiary of the Tribune Company. It was like, how in New York, there's this 24-hour news channel called New York One that you might have heard about.
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay. Well, in New York, there's this 24-hour cable news channel called New York One. It's like CNN for New York City. Like any time of day or night when you turn it on, there's news about New York. Well, in Chicago, there's something called CLTV News, Chicagoland TV. It's the same thing for Chicago. And you turn it on and there's news all day, all night long. And it's all Chicago all the time, And so you see anchors and reporters covering the news. So I worked there for 5 years. That was one of a lot of different television stations I worked at when I was in TV news. And in the summer of 2000, I got an offer to go anchor a morning show in Orlando, Florida at the Fox affiliate, WOFL-TV. So I moved from Chicago to Orlando in August of 2000. And I thought, oh, Florida, I was tired of being cold, and I really loved Chicago, but I thought, oh, this will be a fun new thing, a fun new chapter. It was more money, and so I got down here to Florida in August, and then a few months after that, the Recount happened, and that was sort of my introduction to Florida politics, Florida craziness. Like immediately, this huge story happened that went on for months and months, and that was my introduction to Florida. Was the Recount?
Yeah. So in a sense, I guess me too.
Yeah.
I mean, very close. And do you have an idea about that? Like, what is your opinion about what happened there?
About the Recount?
Yeah.
I think that, I think power exercises itself. Like whoever's in power is going to exercise whatever means that they have to hold on to power. And I think it would have gone, the way of the Democrats had it been, a Democratic governor running Florida. They would have used whatever means at their disposal to help their party. I mean, I just think that's the nature of power.
Yeah.
But
that's a very good point.
But I think that also, the other thing about it too is that there's just something about Florida that's so. I mean, people like to say that Florida is flypaper for freaks, or like that Florida attracts the crazy element of American life. And there is some truth to that, but there's just like this, there's always this element of the absurd in Florida. There's something funny and tragic about it all the time that, I've just noticed that I notice more and more every year that I live here. And then sort of to kind of close the loop on it, years after that happened, we moved up here from Orlando in 2003, and I had left TV news by that point. I was working in PR at the Dalton agency, and I got a random call one day to audition for this Recount film, this HBO film. And they held auditions for it here in Jacksonville, and they asked every former TV news person in town to come and audition for this film. And everybody I knew that had ever worked in the business was at this audition. And we all went down and auditioned to be in this movie. And I knew everybody at the audition. And it was so hilarious. We were all laughing. We all showed up. And then I didn't get it. I found out none of us got cast. We all called each other. Did you get a call back? No. Did you? No. So I forgot about it. And I heard that nobody in Jacksonville got a part. And 8 or 9 months went by, and then I was sitting at my desk one day at the Dalton agency working on some account or other, and at 4:00 in the afternoon, I get this call one day. I pick up the phone, and I hear this random voice. Is this Melissa Ross? I'm like, yes. Who's this? This is Recount. We need you to come down to base camp within the hour and get fitted for your wardrobe. And I was like, I'm like, what? I was so stunned. I go, what? And then the woman on the other end sounded so annoyed. She's like, this is Recount. We need you to come to base camp within the hour to get fitted for your wardrobe. Like she was speaking to a mentally challenged person. I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but I didn't get cast in that movie. I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, there's been a change of plans.
Oh, wow.
She was so rude. She was like, you have been cast and we need you to get over here right now.
Wow.
I mean, she could not have been ruder. So that's
she must have been under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like serious pressure. Yeah. And so that was how I found out I got cast in this movie. And I'm like, well, where is your base camp? And she told me, and their base camp was in this open lot, which is now the site of the big Duval County Courthouse. The huge courthouse. That's where they were located. At the time, it was just this big open lot.
I don't even remember what was there.
Yeah, like it used to just be a big open empty lot with grass on it. And so so I made up some excuse at work and I drove over there because it was right down the street from where I worked. And I get over there and there are all these movie trailers and stuff. And I go in the wardrobe trailer and they start fitting me and putting clothes on me and stuff. And that was my introduction to that movie world. And, so I got to have a scene in a movie. It was great. It was really cool.
Was that the first time you were in there? That was your intro?
Yeah. I mean, okay. I was only
you were already on camera in news.
Yeah. I mean, TV news is its own thing. Like, that's a completely different thing from being in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed. I've had a couple of quick brushes with film, like being in movies. And I've always been impressed at how the crews are so well organized.
Yeah.
And they're like more well organized than the military.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It really was. I mean, aside from that one little experience I had with the call, it was
That's why I was surprised about it.
Yeah, it was very well organized. And except for that one conversation I had with her, everybody else I interacted with on that set was great. And it was exciting, it was funny. And
the level of professionalism is it's contagious,
Yeah, and
then you had to go back to
real life. I know. And they shot all night. Like I was on 2 night shoots, one in Tallahassee and one in Jacksonville. And I did one scene with Laura Dern, one scene with Ed Begley Jr. I didn't get to meet Kevin Spacey. He was in the film, but I didn't get to meet him. There were a lot of really great people associated with it. The screenwriter is this guy named Danny Strong. He wrote the screenplay, and he put the film together with this director, Jay Roach. He directed the Austin Powers movies. He's a pretty big director. They were on the set, and I talked to them a lot. And then just recently, I saw that Danny Strong went on to. He is now the guy who created this huge show on Fox called Empire, which is this huge hit on Fox now. So they've all gone on to do really big things in Hollywood, and they wouldn't even remember me, but it was cool to get to see them working and see how they operate and stuff. It was cool.
I'm mostly impressed by what makes an impression on me is the technical crews. And how they communicate and their little walkie-talkies and their pieces and the cameraman, and they know what to do and and they did get things done so quickly.
Yeah, they did. And it's like an army. They're mobilizing an army all the time. And when they strike one set and set up a new one, and it's really impressive.
I worked with a director named Odin Ozdil, and he explained to me how in film school he learned about a project that the government did, that the military did, in going to study the film crews to make them more efficient. And that was...
I believe it.
Oh, yeah.
I remember at 5 a.m. when they were shooting this press conference scene at the Ed Ball building, the old Ed Ball building. At 5 a.m, this one guy, crew guy, brought out this coffee container that I swear to God, it was as big as high up as that computer monitor, and almost as big around as your piano keyboard.
A coffee container?
Yeah, it was this huge silver coffee urn.
So it was like 5 feet tall.
Yeah, it was this huge silver coffee urn, and it had like a handle on it so he could carry it out. And he brought it out, and he carried it out by the handle, and then he set it down, and it had like a spigot. And he's just started like serving coffee to everybody at 5 a.m. because we've been up all night, you know. So they had everything down to a science. Everybody broke for lunch. They called it lunch, but it was like 3 a.m, half hour, and only a half hour, and then you had to go right back to work and do your thing. So yeah. But that's just and you know how like some memories are more vivid than others. I have like really vivid memories of that experience because I never did anything like that before, and I probably never will again. So I just have really vivid, bright memories of that.
I have memories like that, and that film is actually to me personally is very important.
Why is that?
Because it was it was like I don't think I'd ever seen a movie that involved election fraud in the United States. Maybe that was the premiere movie that did that. And I was really moved by the film in that sense, like it leaves you in wonder of the system that you're having faith in, and right now I worry about that with electronic voting, and I can't believe like nobody has a problem with it. I'm like, I go to vote and I'm like, do I get a receipt for this? Like, is there any paper trail for this because I know quite a bit about computers, and I've been into computers since I was a kid. I wouldn't say I'm not a computer expert, but I know a lot more than the average person, and I understand how easy it is to manipulate these things remotely or at somewhere along the method of it, like the chain, installing the machines or taking the machines out or counting the ballots or the things that count the ballots, so it's worrisome to me, that kind of thing. And so I just don't know. I don't have very much faith in the technology, the way that the system is working right now. I have this idea that there's very powerful and influential groups of people with things that might be nefarious to me if I'm not on their side, if we're not going for the same thing.
You're kind of a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, yeah.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Do you listen to Coast to Coast and all that kind of stuff?
Okay, I did once, but I graduated. I did once, and I loved it. I love the imagination in it, and it's so much fun.
Did you watch like Loose Change?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was a sucker. About Loose Change for a good 3-6 months maybe. It's so convincing. The argument was so compelling.
Do you think Oswald had help?
Yes.
I think that's probably the one conspiracy theory most people do buy into, though. Mm-hmm. Most people do. Yeah,
because you hear there's so many people with experience in shooting that kind of a rifle,
right?
That they, to achieve that under pressure when you're going to shoot the president, it's not just some guy, and he's in a car and it's moving. Yeah, I think there was more to it than just Oswald.
I think most Americans agree with that now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the thing about conspiracy theories and things like that, even elements of September 11th, right? Whatever, across the board, right? The thing about conspiracy theories is you can look at them and you're either going to become the dude or the woman who is going to, it's usually guys, who's going to just lose his mind and start get all about this conspiracy theory, or you're going to acknowledge that something is fraudulent and then you have to move on and live your life.
Is that why you think people believe in them?
No. I mean, I think that's why. It's so hard to solve them, because people don't have a career interest in, and they're not going to make any money off of it. The people who are possibly making the conspiracies happen, they're benefiting from it somehow. Trying to uncover a conspiracy only costs you time and money and family life, and there's no slant, there's no positive slant to it. And a professor he was on the show from Flagler, he's a professor of criminology. He told me that activists are always at a disadvantage because of that. Because of that dynamic.
Well, there's another school of thought that conspiracy theories flourish because people have a hard time cognitively accepting that some things are just random.
Yeah.
People need to assign order and reasoning to things that don't always have it. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm not saying that's
and it's true.
Fact, but that is one school of thought.
Yeah, and it's true. I guarantee that it's true with a certain percentage of conspiracies.
Yeah.
And it was in my lifetime is when the word conspiracy became very popular, and it also became a way to dismiss someone automatically.
Yeah.
So what about you? Did you like the Coast to Coast shows?
I've listened to I'm usually not up at when it's on. Now I will say about a week ago, actually, I had to go into work really early, 3 or 4 in the morning, and I turned on WOKV because I listen to them sometimes. I flip back and forth sometimes between when I go in really early between them and my station. And Coast to Coast was on, and that was the first time in a long time I listened, because I think that's the station in town that carries them, and I mean
they do. That is a station.
Yeah, and I mean I like to listen to all kinds of radio shows without any judgment, just to see what's out there, because I'm in the radio business now, so.
Yeah.
You know?
So what time do you start? Like your day?
I go in around 7. I get up around 5. We get our kids off to school. My husband and I both get up around 5. He teaches at JU. He's an adjunct, and then he goes to work at the Times Union. And so either he goes off to JU and then to the TU, or he goes off to the TU. We like take turns getting the kids to school, get to work. I get in around 7. We get the show together. I work with a producer who he also produces other shows besides the one that he works on with me. We have, a bunch of guests come in between 8:30 and 9. We do the show from 9 to 10. We do a little postmortem, and then we start working on the next day.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And then it's just like this constantly rolling train, and you can never really get off the train.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, and then in the middle of the day, I do things like this. I meet new cool people like you, and or touch base with other contacts, go to events, speak at different events, do research, book guests, answer emails.
Do you find it difficult to, Jacksonville is not Los Angeles, it's not New York, do you find it difficult to find material for a daily show?
No. And, when it started in 2009, I was so afraid. I was terrified that we weren't going to be able to fill the hour with enough material. I was so worried about that. But now we kind of actually have the opposite problem that we just can't. We have to tell people, we have to turn people down all the time because we just can't put everybody on that wants to be on. And especially the more feature type segments. The one challenge we do have is finding a compelling kind of lead segment every morning. Some lead segments are a little stronger than others, but so the one
lead segment would be
the one every morning at 9 that really drives a ton of calls.
Okay.
But ideally, what I'd like eventually is to have 2, every hour have segment 1 drive a ton of calls, and then also have a second segment that also drives lots of calls. It's hard without a whole production staff to
How
do
big
that
is your
every day.
staff?
It's me, and then this one other guy, Sean Birch, who's great. And I don't even really have him for the full day always. He does other things. Yeah. So it's really me, and
that's why your title is producer also.
Huh? Yeah.
That's why your title is producer.
Yeah. I mean, so it, but yeah, so, but yeah, I was concerned about that, but we really haven't had that problem because in the digital world, there's a lot of things you can do, as you found too. Yeah.
So, newscasting and the news business, from the time that you started professionally, the time you got into it, how do you see it that it's changed since then?
Well, it's one of the reasons I got out of the TV business is it's just not the same. I mean,
I've noticed that too.
Yeah, it's
as a viewer.
When I got into it, I started as an intern in the summer of 1987. So that was sort of like the tail end of the Ron Burgundy era. Like it really was. Like if you've ever seen that movie Anchorman, it was sort of still that way.
I tried to watch it.
It was sort of the very end of that era of newsrooms where it was very sexist. It was very traditional. Straight white men ruled the newsroom. Women were decoration. There were a few token African Americans and Latinos, very token. It was traditional in terms of how labor was divvied up. There was no digital technology. You did one story a day, maybe one live shot a day if you were a reporter. If you were an anchor, you anchored your 1 or 2 newscasts a day and you got paid a lot of money to do it. Now...
how much money did you get paid?
Well, I never made a lot of money in the TV business, but there were anchors that did. And there's a few that still do today. But
why do they make so much money? Just because personality, they're recognized?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the way it is now is profits have gone down. Social media and digital technology have changed the business considerably. There are fewer staffers doing a lot more content, and they're turning content for TV and digital. They're turning a lot more volume every day. A reporter now has to go out and report the story and shoot the story. I never had to do that. I mean, I always had a news photographer with me to shoot the story, to shoot the video.
Yeah.
Now it's like what they call it, a video journalist or a one-man band. Mm-hmm. I was never a one-man band. Today you have to be a one-man band.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of changes like that make it a lot harder. And I think it affects the quality. The quality's not really the same.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that point for sure.
And there are things, with local news that just in terms of just the economics of it. I mean, you've got a few corporations that own most of the companies that kind of drive those content decisions. There are bigger forces at work.
So what do you think about the content on the news versus what you can now easily access on the internet?
Right. That's what's affecting. That's what's kind of affecting those business decisions. They're being pressured by all these choices consumers have, like you and I. I mean, we can click and watch other things. We can watch YouTube. We can. Yeah. There's a lot of other choices we have.
And there's so much. The news can be so much more diverse.
Yeah.
Or it could even be something that a sponsor would not want.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah.
So it's very limited right now.
Yeah. And so, right. And I think the stations that are successful, they figure out their brand, I guess, and they really stick to it. Like in this market, I think Channel 4 has been really successful branding themselves as the local station. And they, you asked about personalities. Well, they've had the same people for a long time, and they've really stuck by them, and they've promoted them.
I like my news to come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped feeling that way when I got really into media studies and whatever that means. But no, I started studying the media after September 11th because I'm like, this is insane what's happening here. Like, like every television was on there, and I had to. It made me aware of the vehicle of how the news was being delivered, and I before that I had an attachment to Tom Brokaw because he was my news anchor. For some reason I believed the news when it came from Tom Brokaw. This is Tom Brokaw.
Yeah.
It's like, so that happens to people when they get attached.
My husband calls him Tom Brokejaw.
Brokejaw? Because it's the way he talks. The way he talks like Yeah, so I think it's a mistake though to get attached to your newscaster because it's like it colors the truth. It can color the truth if they have their leanings.
Like Brian Williams.
Who's Brian Williams? I don't know.
He replaced Tom Brokaw, but then it came out that he was kind of embellishing his stories a little.
I barely remember what he looks like right now. I watch very little TV. I'll put it this way. Since 2002, I didn't have a television until 2013.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My house.
It's funny considering that I work in media, but and I still do a little TV, but the truth of the matter is the older I get, I'm more like you. I watch with each passing year, the less and less TV I watch. I just find myself watching very little television anymore. And it's weird because Why do you think that is? I've just lost interest in it. Why? Because I feel the same way.
I've
just become a completely different person. I'm more interested in reading and ideas, and
right. Yeah.
I've just kind of gone inward.
Things that are more interactive.
Yes.
Also.
I'm more interested in ideas and kind of digging into other people's brains and wanting to know what they know. And my mom died when she was 56 and I'm 48. And I know it seems a little morbid, but I think I'll live to be old because most people in my family live to be really old.
Yeah.
But I'm just more aware of the passage of time. And I feel like I don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
Like I want to spend my time in a smart way, and I want to spend it learning as much as I can and becoming smarter every day, if that makes sense. Like,
No,
I'm
that
always,
makes sense.
I feel like I'm reading all the time and studying all the time. And it sounds nerdy, but that's kind of how I spend a lot of my time.
It makes sense. You show an appreciation for life in that way. And the problem is the television. It used to, everything has a lifespan, and it used to have a novelty to it that wore off.
Yeah.
And the content, for example, the internet, the television became like the internet at a point before the internet, where the History Channel came out and the Science Channel and whatnot, and then those things just turned into like bridal shows and.
Yeah.
I don't know
there
how
is
that
one
happened.
show though that I will sit and watch and I love, and it's the silliest show in the world. But my kids turn me onto it, and my whole family loves it. It's on Comedy Central. It's called Drunk History. Have you watched it?
I saw an episode of it.
Oh, it's hysterical.
It was. I saw the wrong episode though because it was painful. I saw Duncan Trussell talk about somebody.
Well, we DVR'd like pretty much the whole series.
He was throwing up,
and like there are a few throw up episodes, but the whole concept of it is actually pretty bright and funny and cool. And we watched a few of them with our kids, and that was a really good show. It's
the
fun.
concept is people get drunk and then they tell you about history.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty creative.
Yeah, and the thing about it the twist on it that makes it so good is that they have really famous people like acting out the parts. Like that's one twist. Like they have Courtney Cox played President Wilson's wife in one. And then the other twist is you hear the voiceover of the drunk person explaining the story, and then they cut back to the historical scene and you see the actor acting out the scene in the voice of the drunk person. So it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, why are we talking about drunk history?
We were just saying how we don't watch TV.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that just today about why I don't watch television anymore. Because I think about it from time to time, and because I try to give myself an answer, because I want to know what it is about it that doesn't appeal to me, that appeals to so many other people. And the answer they came up with was the interactiveness of it is not there. It's very one-sided.
And you do kind of go, like they've even studied its effect on your brain chemistry. And if I am stressed and I need to just really feel relaxed, I will watch TV because you almost go into like a trance if you watch TV. And it soothes you. Like that's why people watch it, because you just sit there in a trance.
Yeah, I've had phases in my life, early in my life, where I would sit there and watch television for hours.
Yeah, it soothes you.
Well, it would soothe me, but then I would feel this buildup, and like this, all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I need to do something, like right now.
Yeah,
Like,
like, you feel like you're wasting time, or
it was just like this urgency that I need to do something right now.
Yeah.
It's like, and so it takes some balancing.
I know. And and I was raised by these, hard work ethic Presbyterian Scotch Irish people, and I always feel like I'm not being productive enough all the time too. I got a heavy dose of that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, my upbringing was a similar dynamic, but they were Mexicans, and they're always working, or they're always cleaning, or they're always doing something.
Where did you grow up?
Los Angeles.
Okay.
I was born and raised there. I lived there till I was about 23, 24 years old.
Okay.
And I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
Los Angeles was an amazing town. I know I've met many people from here that have gone to Los Angeles. They don't like it. That's what I hear mostly.
Yeah.
But you can easily not like Los Angeles if you go to the wrong parts.
LA's great though. I love LA.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I went to
I would, by the way, I would love it if you would do like Fridays on your show, like everybody has some wine.
Right.
Every drunk
media roundtable.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd get fired. But
That would be
what a way
so
to go
great.
out. That'd be like
so
I'd go out in a
great.
blaze of glory.
That would be so great.
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, if you want to spike listenership, if WJCT, what is the station? WJXT?
WJCT.
Yeah. That would, and something like that would always automatically do it, right?
Oh yeah. That would be huge. As Donald Trump would say, huge.
Yeah. Huge. That guy is, man. I haven't really talked about him on the podcast. Because I just ignore people who are crazy and yelling in the street. That's what I do with crazy people on the street. I'm like, this guy's yelling obscenities over here, so I'm like, just cross the street. Oh. But the media just goes, that guy right there, that crazy dude on the corner. Let's all go to that guy.
Hey, he's getting the ratings.
If it bleeds, it leads.
That's TV news for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one thing about public media that, it's been really gratifying to work in is it's, you're getting the chance to kind of explore some more substantive topics. Oh, you're crossing off your questions for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's stuff that I thought that we might want to talk about. It's
okay.
Like, and some of it have
you made your way through your whole list?
We don't have to.
Okay.
I just like a profusion of things to talk about.
Okay.
Because we can get lost. I didn't think that I would get lost. I didn't even think I needed a list with you because you know what to do in front of a microphone. Yeah. Like if I got lost, you would just start talking.
No, yeah. I can talk all day. I keep telling them, like, let me do 2 hours on the air. And they're like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because, they just don't want to do another hour would be
financial.
Yeah. More resources and stuff.
Yeah. So this is, I listening to your show, I noticed that you're like an iceberg to me. Like there's these things that you express and I'm like, no, tell this dude to shut up. What was she going to say right now? Why did she ask that question? Because you have a very, I think you have a very progressive, that's the label. It's so used right now. But I think that your views on things are much more thought out than a lot of people. I suspect that. I could be wrong. Am I wrong?
Well, I'll tell you. I do have very well thought out views on a range of issues. But in the current job that I have, it's my role to facilitate other people's opinions, and let them. My job is to give a platform to the guest. And so if I'm doing my job right, I'm giving voice to them, I'm giving a platform to the community. And so that's really what I'm there to do. And people may not believe this, but I take criticism all the time from people on both sides of the spectrum, that I'm too conservative or that I'm too liberal or that I'm too this or too that. But I'm really, the mission of what we do is we're supposed to try to do our best to not interject our opinions. And public media is really kind of old-fashioned that way. We really try to keep our own biases out of it. And it's, we're human beings and it's not easy, but that's really what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, if the day ever comes when I get to do a podcast like you, well, I'll be unleashed and I can maybe do different things. But for now, that's really what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think a 2-hour show would work because I noticed that I think another limitation of traditional media right now is the time constraints. And there's things that deserve more time to be talked about, but you have to move the show along.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mind me saying it on here, I'll totally help you start up a podcast.
You will?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. I'm going to take you up on that.
Yeah, it's easier, way easier than you think.
Well, you're doing a good job with it.
Oh, thank you. I'm switching the cameras right here while we're talking.
I know. I can see you doing that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Hal Sparks, he used to be on the show Queer as Folk. He has a radio show, and when he was in Jacksonville, he did an appearance at the Comedy Zone, and he did his podcast and his radio show from our building, and he came in and he was doing the exact same thing you're doing, and operating the cameras and everything.
Yeah, some people have thought that I have a TriCaster in here.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? You know
No,
what that
yeah,
is?
I know. I've been trying to get WJCT to buy a TriCaster.
Well, I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys have no idea. I don't even need a TriCaster.
What are you using?
I'm using open broadcasting software.
Okay.
And it's open source software.
Okay.
And you just configure it to do whatever you want it to do.
You should send us the link so that we can.
Yeah, it took 18 hours, not in a row, of studying the software and how it works. And that was it. That was it.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. So you're going to have a podcast soon.
Okay. You're going to be my man.
So, you know, so that in a podcast, I noticed that having an opinion is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And being wrong about something is perfectly okay. Because, so, you know, people, you said that you get flack. Is that a real word? You get criticism from both sides of the aisle. And whenever you're broadcasting or doing anything, as you might already know, to thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, you're going to make somebody mad just by saying,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
Yeah, somebody's going to be sitting there on their computer eating Doritos with sour cream.
The other thing too, and I as I've gotten older, I don't struggle with it as much, but I still kind of do. As a woman, like, women are really just powerfully conditioned to be pleasers and to be liked, and to way more than guys. And we are just, it's just pounded into us to try to be pleasant and polite and not to offend. And, you know, it's very misogynistic.
Is that why women are so pleasant?
Well, I mean, it's just pure patriarchy, straight up.
I'm a huge fan of women.
I know, I can see that.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that the older I get, the less that I'm concerned with that. Like, I'm just not as concerned with that. And I've noticed that a lot in friends and colleagues I have that are women. Like, as women get older, we just stop caring about that as much. We just, that falls away.
Do you have anything to say about, like, your position as a woman in the news field or professionally or in society? Are you a feminist?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Have you been a feminist your whole life?
Yes.
You have? Oh, wow. And so I have a new dynamic. I have a daughter who's 2. She's very, you know, she's a little kid, but I have a new dynamic in my life about that. Feminism. Do you have a daughter?
I have 2.
Okay. Yeah, so that for me as a male, like, it makes me think about all these other things, like kind of like what you're talking about right now. You know.
Yeah, and my husband too. Like, now that he has 2 girls, like, it's really opened him up. I think to the point where he gets annoyed with me a little. Like, when I say, "Now you see what it's like for us," like, to the point where he rolls his eyes a little, but he gets it in a new way. Like, I think men, when they have daughters, and they've even studied this, like, male executives, when they have daughters, they're much more likely, as men in a position to hire and fire, and much more likely to be sensitive to those kind of gender things in the workplace, because having the experience of raising girls, that changes their viewpoint. Like, they just get it in a new way. And yeah.
I'm not very afraid for Luna. That's my daughter's name. Because we're her parents. As long as nothing happens to us, that'd be great. I would love that. I think we can arm her with, actually, I don't want to say arm. I don't want to use these war words anymore. I think we can prepare her for what she might face in the world. And I would hope to make her a solid enough person to where she can, you know, weather any storm. Yeah. Basically.
I'm sure you will.
And do you like being a parent?
I do. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Okay,
cool.
Are we out of time?
Yeah, almost. There's one more thing I want to ask you.
Okay.
So, are you know, of course your show focuses on the local show. How old is the show?
6 years.
Okay. That show, me being here 15 years, is here too late. Like, I thought I tried to start a radio station here in Jacksonville once. I'll tell you about it some other time, but it was pretty ridiculous, if you can imagine that idea, without any money.
Right.
Yeah. So, your show focuses on the community a lot. Are you naturally that kind of a person, or is this something that you started to do because of the show?
Well, what happened was the opportunity was presented to me just in this flukish kind of way, and I almost turned it down. And I thought, oh God, I don't know. What if it falls? What if they only guaranteed me salary for 1 year? They're like, we will only fund this for 1 year, and if it doesn't work, that's it. So it was a total leap of faith. Yeah. And I thought, oh God.
It's not very much time either.
Yeah, I thought, what if it falls apart? I don't know. What if I make a fool out of myself? And
really? You were thinking that?
Yes, absolutely. I was terrified. I mean, the first 3 weeks before they hired me like August 1, and we went on the air like August 31st, 2009. That whole month, every night, I laid awake, like not getting a wink of sleep for a solid month. Like I was so scared.
Wow.
But so it wasn't like I had this grand plan to have this community-oriented show or anything like that. It was just a fluke. But what happened? But once I committed to do it, I thought, okay, I've got to make this work. What's going to work here?
Yeah.
And I just, through trial, and no one was listening in the beginning. I mean, no one was paying any attention. So
when you say no one, you mean like 2,000 people?
Yeah. I mean, it was small. So through trial and error, I slowly started to piece together, okay, that show kind of worked. Okay, this is what worked. Okay, that segment didn't work. So over the years, we kind of figured out a wheel. Like if you look at each show's a wheel. Like NPR has show rundowns that look like a wheel or a clock, and you kind of figure out a format that works. And so it's just developed over time into this community show with different elements that work.
Yeah, I'm glad it's working.
Thanks.
I'm very glad it's working.
Thanks.
And you need 2 hours.
Maybe someday.
Come on, WJ.
Well, you have more Twitter followers than me, so you can start that campaign.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have my own things I need to focus on.
I know you do.
So we should probably go because you're busy and I'm busy too.
Well, thank you. It was fun.
You're welcome. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, I loved it.